Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. It's Sunday afternoon and I hope everybody had a wonderful summer day. It's been kind of hot, cloudy, and humid here, but anyway, it's a good day. The governor of the Central Bank of Iraq made an announced visit to Washington this last week, and one of the things that they were talking about was the Chinese yuan. It was told to be a official, unannounced visit by the United States, or with the United States, to discuss with officials in Washington about the decision of the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank to stop Baghdad's dealing in the Chinese yuan. That's what the story says. It says that they Tuesday met with officials at the Federal Reserve Bank and the United States Treasury. She goes on to add that U.S. officials made a decision to stop Iraq's dealings, or suggested, and we're discussing the decision to cease, them to be using the yuan in dealings. So the central bank governor is also discussing required obligations regarding Iraq's banks that were deprived of dealing in dollars. I believe that there was about 32 banks that have had that happen to them. It says Ali Alak went to Washington, which coincides with a major jump in the exchange rate of the dollar against the dinar. I think what they're talking about there is, in brief, is that it's the parallel market, and that parallel market has been told time and time again by al-Sudani's advisor, and even today another expert, a doctor in the business, said the same thing. Right? It's just that they have inflation under control. They have the exchange rate stable, as we can see, and ultimately at the end of the day, the parallel market's becoming more and more obsolete, and we believe that it's probably going to be completely obsolete once Iraq goes to a real effective exchange rate, and we're going to see if that happens. It seems that this visit, was important enough to pop in unannounced. I would say that, to me, he had to be coming for good reasons, and I suspect that he was there to be in person, and which would be rightfully so. They would probably want to see the whites of his eyes and see where he's coming from. So I think this meeting in Washington probably covered a lot of things, and probably exchange rate orientation, things of that nature, because it's going to be pretty serious, it's going to be pretty tight, and they're going to probably want to know that he has everything under control and ready to go, because obviously what we have seen is that there's no stopping this project that they have been working on for many, many years, and it's going to be a really big deal. So anyway, it says the Iraqi and the U.S. talks on the exchange rate of the dinar against the dollar. All right. So the foreign minister, Fawad Hussein, he was in Washington also, I believe on the 12th. And what did they discuss? He says they discussed issues that the parties were working on in accordance with their previous reform agreements. So they've been talking about everything they've been talking about is reiterated, I guess. And he goes on to says the commitment of the Iraqi government to move forward with its reform and economic measures related to the Iraqi banking system and the energy sector. So there's two things happening. They're sticking with the banking system and the energy sector. And you can see that obviously they've made significant inroads. We know that the IQD systems were up and running and ready to go. So everything seems to be that they have basically engage the process of structural reform. That's what they're talking about. The stability of the exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar against the US dollar is a fundamental pillar to achieve economic, social, and political stability in Iraq, which the government is seeking, the government is seeking to achieve. And so basically calling on all U.S. concerns and the U.S. institutions to review and build on this. And I'm assuming that they will, especially once they have a real effective exchange rate, that it's going to change the whole level playing field to a real big world playing field. He goes on and stresses that the competent American institutions understand the seriousness of Iraq's government in modernizing these mechanisms of work in the Iraqi institutions, and the readiness of American side to help Iraq in addressing obstacles to its reforms, which will reflect positively on the Iraq economy. Basically what they're saying here is that the work's being done with Iraq's reforms in the financial and banking sectors have been praiseworthy. That's what they're talking about. They're actually giving them kudos. Okay? The American institutions know full well how important the future of Iraq is to be globally. They understand the seriousness of the Iraqi government in modernizing the mechanisms of work in Iraq's institutions and their infrastructures. They need to, or the need to, support exchange rate stability between the dollar and the dinar will be even more important going forward, especially with a new real effective exchange rate to be applied, one that will represent the fundamental pillars in achieving economic, social, and political stability. What they're doing now is to reflect positively on all fronts. Let's just see how far those 32 banks come to see if they get reinstituted into being able to deal in the dollar. Realize that the dollar is not going to go away. There's always going to be a need for people to come and travel for education, all kinds of different reasons, medical, everything, because we're a global society, and Iraq is part of that. And they have interests here. We have a lot of Iraqis here in the United States. We have them all over the world, and all over our country, and we have some pretty good populations. So think about that. They're going to be facing some common challenges, and they're going to be working on those things. And so what this meeting was looking for was mutual understandings to convey a clear picture of Iraq's foreign policy and its future direction, stressing the importance of a dialogue, cooperation, and those facing those challenges. Okay, so Fawad is saying he just paints a clear picture for everybody. The security and stability is very important. They're going to go on and try to maintain that stability in the future, and it's not only going to be for them, but it's going to be for their country, the region, and around the world. Right? The international scene is going to be an important one, I believe, for Iraq. Making sure that everyone in the world knows where Iraq stands on key issues is obviously important, especially at this time frame. And it's not surprising, an unannounced visit from Al-Alaq, from the Central Bank of Iraq, to the United States Treasury and the U.S. Federal Reserve, while military Fawad Hussein is doing both, seeing military agencies and also seeing the U.S. Treasury and the U.S. Federal Reserve. So I think it's pretty powerful information to show that these guys are technically working right where we want them to go, The government consultant, which is a major shift in the work of outlets using advanced technologies. So we talked about this, right? Connecting all border crossings to the optical cable with revealing the advantages of the Escada system in detecting smuggling operations. The border crossings, you guys, they've been losing a lot of money. But if they're going to double revenues, I mean, you got to think like, wow, these guys were taking a hit big time. And who's getting hurt on that? The citizens are. So basically, it says the border crossings were connected to the optical cable by 100%, and the Border Crossings Operations Center was established. All ports are now linked to the Operations Center as a direct transport image of the sonar, program management and monitoring of trucks and goods from their entry into the port and their arrival at customs, etc. The Escada system is currently working in 3 land ports, Baghdad Airport, etc. It's now in the process of being completed with the rest of the ports. It's kind of a contradiction, but they say it's done. The border crossings management system is currently working at all border crossings. So again, excuse me, everything's going, right? He points out the strengthening of monitoring electronic work, doubling the revenues, and it detects all violations with evidence and documents. And this is certainly what the network of the Escada system provides. And so basically, who's involved in that? The World Customs Organization, the WTO are probably very likely pleased about how far up they are along with this, because they've got a direct hand in it. And this comes out right before this next week, that there's supposedly a formal and historic meeting with the WTO in Iraq on the basis of a session. I think everybody's probably aware of that already, but a little more information came out to the point that they told us it was going to be formal and historic, and we already went over it, but just hammering it home, so don't forget about that. The Washington Secretary of State, U.S. Treasury, is positively valued central bank's efforts. So more kudos for Al-Alaq, it sounds like, and the Foreign Minister, Fawad Hussein, who has confirmed that the U.S. Treasury Department has positively evaluated the efforts of the central bank, while noting that a military delegation in Washington is going to be for security talks. On the sidelines of the summit, they said that they held intensive meetings with the leaders of several countries, and we held a meeting with the U.S. Treasury Department to discuss issues related to monetary policy and banking marks. The U.S. Treasury Department positively evaluated the efforts of the central bank. A military delegation will visit Washington for talks on the security agreement concluded between Iraq and the United States. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but that statement basically says green light, a couple of them. Green light, you guys, you've done a good job. Let's go, get it done. It says that NATO's meetings with the future of the international mission with cooperation with the Iraqi Ministry of Defense was discussed. So sideline meetings, you gotta say what I just told you was powerful. The implications of a meeting with the U.S. Treasury relating to monetary policy and banking marks would have likely been behind some closed doors, and for probably good reason, because highly sensitive information going on there. Government advisor. The stability of the dinar exchange rate against the dollar is real and solid. So Mohammed Saleh, everybody knows that Mohammed Saleh, when he talks, just like Al Nusri, when they talk, they're usually really important. They got credibility. They've been around a long time, and they know and have a track record to be fair and to be relatively honest, of course. Saleh basically points out that the stability of the exchange of the dinar against the dollar is real and solid, so it's stable. The dominance of a fixed exchange rate system in Iraq based on an international reserve base is the highest in the history of Iraq and its monetary policy, as foreign currency covers more than 100% of the total currency mark currently issued. So it's more than the total currency issued. They have support. It says, through the strength of the official exchange rate market, central exchange market, the exchange rate of the dollar to the dinar in the parallel market in our country does not constitute any relative importance in influencing the stability of the general price level, which has become stable in its components and trends due to the influence of the official exchange rate factor that is currently prevailing and dominating the financing of foreign trade, imports, etc. So basically, it does not constitute a relative importance. So that's the main point. Again, Saleh shows that there's stability in the fixed exchange rate system that they're in right now. The exchange rate's solid, real, parallel market's not consequential. Apparently, with no denial of deleting the zero project, it's still apparently in play. With the advisors so many times this month alone saying how stable things are, we could take away what the delete the zeros in the environment of stability, be successful in the project, and then they apply the REER to very close to that same time. So basically what I'm saying is things are stable. A takeaway could be that when they delete the zeros in this environment, stability will be successful probably into the future. Apply the real effective exchange rate very close to that. At the same time, they drop the zeros. I think if this holds true, everybody and their brother is going to be pretty happy. I think the whole world's going to have a change. Revealing the reason for holding the cabinet session today before its scheduled time on Tuesday, I found this article kind of interesting. And the reason being is that the cabinet meeting was held today, Sunday, as opposed to Tuesday of next week. Quote, the cabinet session held today coincided with the 9th night of Imam Hussein, in parentheses, PBUH. So today's session was held. I'm not sure what the PBUH was, but anyway, it just basically says that, to me, that they have an urgency to get things done. It sure is looking like that's the case. To move a meeting up a few days is for purpose. Al-Sudani is a go-getter, and I think it wouldn't be surprised, to me, it wouldn't be a surprise if Al-Alaq's visit to Washington, along with the foreign minister, was part of the conversations that they had. And I wouldn't be surprised if this cabinet session today went over some of that stuff. What else do we have? It says the framework gives the Sunnis the last chance to name the parliament speaker. No postponement after that. So the coordination framework basically is setting the stage, saying, like, get it done or we'll do it for you. July 20th, that's what they put. They say that they're going to be The coordination framework, which brings together the ruling Shiite political forces in the country, set today, Sunday, July 20th, as the date to decide on naming a new Speaker of the Iraqi Parliament, stressing that after this date, the matter will be left to the members of the House of Representatives to choose for themselves who they see as suitable for this position. It goes on to say that the coordination framework forces gave the Sunni political forces a deadline until the 20th, i.e., after the end of the Ashura rituals, to decide their position, agree among themselves on the file of electing the parliament speaker. If the Sunni political forces do not agree among themselves, a session will be held to elect the Speaker of the House of Representatives in the first session of the legislative term, and the matter will be left to the representatives, and whichever candidate gets the highest number of votes will be the new president. Stressing that there is no postponement in this, as the framework forces want to resolve the issue quickly, as it has had a negative impact on legislative and oversight work. So ultimately, everybody, the federal Supreme Court, the highest judicial authority in Iraq, decided November back in 2023 to terminate the membership of the Speaker of Halabousi. So basically what they're going to try to do is resolve this issue once and for all in this particular time and around this legislative period. So basically, you guys, the resolutions on the table this week. I think we have the WTO meeting that's going to be this week. This is going to be a little after that, for instance. So there's things that are happening during and now going forward. We're going to have to see where this all takes us, but we can obviously see that Iraq is going to go into an international stage, and what we expect to see is that they're going to be able to do that and implement it. The 2024 budget allocations still have yet to be done. They still have yet to open up those borders for the oil flow through Turkey into Cyan. Many different issues, all coinciding at the same time, and opening up the borders, having electronic mechanisms in place, ceasing the dollar auctions. As we know it, tomorrow is going to be supposedly the first day that they're going to have a new mechanism for using the dollar and selling that dollar. Basically, people are just going to have to play by the rules and be part of that platform, the FITR platform, and we have to just go from there to see what. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.